Hello and welcome to another edition of the Empathic Designer podcast. I'm your host Vaidishwaran. In continuing with my previous video on virtual instructor-led training, I'll be talking about some of the best practices for instructors during a virtual instructor-led training session. And for this purpose of this video, I want to break this into three parts. Best practices for instructors before the session, during the session, and after the session. So let's get started. Before you start your session, make sure that you state your goals and objectives for the session to yourself and communicate the same to your audience. It is important to communicate what the learners can expect from you and what is expected of them before the session. This will ensure that your learners are in the right state of mind during the session, and it is much easier to engage them in this manner. Avoid including vague topics and cliche phrases in your agenda, as it really puts off serious learners. Be specific on the actions and outcomes of your session. The next important item should be on your list ahead of your session is to answer three questions: who, when, and where. Take the time to research the target audience for your session. It is a good practice to spend some time in creating a persona for your audience to understand them better. This will help you understand their world, figure out what they want, when they want, and how they want their information to come to them. Answering these questions will also help in determining the time duration for your session, the types of activities, and even the platform of choice for your session. Always ensure that you have a session producer. As mentioned in my previous episode, a VILT session producer plays an important role in working with the facilitator to ensure that the virtual training session runs really smoothly. They can help the facilitators by kicking off the session, conducting activities such as breakout rooms, polls. They can moderate the chat board, direct users to supplementary content and reference material. They can help in keeping time, and in some instances also serve as a co-presenter or can even act as a backup presenter for your program. So let's move on to the second part of the video, some of the best practices for instructors during a VILT session. It is important to set up ground rules for your sessions and state them explicitly at the beginning. This helps in bringing a sense of order to your sessions and a level of comfort for your learners in terms of setting expectations. You can take the help of your session producer for creating this. Whenever possible, enable your video. This really adds a personal touch to your session and helps in connecting with your audience in a much better manner. And make sure that you have a plan and work towards it, along with the support of your producer during the session. A good practice is to create a facilitator guide that will help you and your producer understand the structure and the flow of the session and ensure that you are able to cover all of the planned topics, activities within the planned time. One of the time-tested strategies to keep your audience engaged during a virtual session is to organize discussions. You can either do this within your session or create breakout rooms in case of larger audiences. Always ensure that you're always in the driver's seat, guiding the conversation and keep helping them to stay within the scope of the topic. Always debrief after every activity to ensure that the learners appreciate the nature of the activity and continue to stay with you throughout the presentation. Take time to learn the various features of the platform of choice in order to utilize them very well towards engaging your audience. You can also take your help of your producer to get this done. So now let's go to the final part of the video, the post-session engagement. It is a good practice to have a follow-up plan to keep in touch with your learners. Make sure that you provide avenues for your learners to get in touch with you after the session with any questions they might have. Also, set expectations of your response time for their queries and stick to it. If you are conducting a multi-session program, make sure that you have an office hours session planned. This session will be dedicated for your learners' Q&A. Another good practice is to set up a discussion board or create a social media hashtag for your topic in order to continue the conversation and lead into subsequent sessions. Ensure that none of your learners or their questions get left out. As always, collect feedback from your learners virtually using the polling tools and use this information to refine your future training sessions. You can ask your producer to take notes based on their observation of the session, both from your perspective as a facilitator and from the perspective of your learner. Combine these notes along with the feedback received, and this will prove to be a treasure trove of information that will give you the positives that you need to sustain through your future sessions and the negatives that need to be suitably addressed in your future sessions as well. Thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of the Empathic Designer podcast. If you like what you heard, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for getting regular updates from my channel. You can also hit the bell icon for getting those updates from my channel. As always, if you have any questions or if you have any feedback, go ahead and post them in the comment section below, and I'll be glad to have a conversation with you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.